Hey everyone, my name is Sakairis, welcome back to the channel, and I did not realize that you guys were into this Quandale Dingle thing so much. Yeah, that video has absolutely exploded in the time since I've uploaded it, which I did not expect to happen at all, and I have just been getting absolutely hounded with comments over the past few weeks about things to add, things that I got wrong, things to change about the family tree, some different theories and all that, and while I did make an update video, it didn't really go into detail that much about this whole universe, and of course we have had a lot of new material introduced in this franchise since the last video I made on the subject. So, without further ado, here is the ultimate Quandale Dingle family tree. This is the last video I'm gonna make in the series because I'm tired of making these, to be honest. I mean, like it says in the corner here, I'm not watching a 1-hour VR chat live stream for the sake of adding like 2 more people to this family tree, so I think that this is gonna be it, but this is a fairly comprehensive list of everything that we know so far. It has alternate universes, it has some conspiracy theories mixed in here. We even have some friends that are not part of the family tree because you guys wanted it so badly. Anyways, I'm gonna be going over the entire thing again. I'm gonna start from the beginning because there is just so much stuff that is different about this family tree compared to the last one, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go watch the last video to know what changes I've made and how the Quandale Dingle expanded universe has progressed from that time to now. So anyways, we should start off with our main protagonist of the franchise, the man we've come to know and love over this time, Quandale Dingle himself. Quandale Dingle, as I've said in the previous video, is a very interesting man. He suffered brain damage as a result of his grandpa, Henry Arthur Zinky Nuts, who is a very important player in this family tree, as I will explain later. Basically, his grandpa dropped him on his head, or stomped on his head, I guess, when he was a child, and he has brain damage now because of that. Kind of like me. We know that Quandale burnt his house down after leaving the stove on, which is actually very similar to another person on this tree, but we'll get more into Jay Jones over here later. We know that Quandale has type 7 genital herpes, probably from the baby mama Shaniqua Anderson, although this was never confirmed in the Quandale Dingle franchise. I think it's a pretty safe assumption to make, or from his other partner, DeQuavius Bingleton. Happy Pride Month, everyone. We know that Quandale blew his hand off after sticking a fork in an electrical socket. We knew he was arrested for assaulting a police officer and declaring war on Italy. He escaped prison March 28th, 2022 by dumping boiling water on a guard's head. As I said in the last video, very creative method of escape. Was truly a very interesting episode of Quandale Dingle Season 1, if I remember correctly. Let's see, we have, he celebrates Ramadan, so he's possibly Muslim. That's just a theory of mine. Once again, hasn't been confirmed or directly addressed. It's kind of like Will being gay in Stranger Things, where it's like, it's a pretty fair assumption, but it's not like 100%. We know that he assassinated his cat. I do not remember how exactly he did that, but I mean, you know, we do know that he is a fairly prolific assassin. He assassinated Vladimir Putin by lacing his drink with Percocet, and as well as several other figures on this family tree, as we will see shortly. We know that he was arrested in India for carrying out fraudulent Microsoft support calls. Very interesting there. And we have 2 other things under Quandale for his notes that I put down here. This one right here, I'm gonna save for later. That's something that we're gonna discuss in a bit. This, however, is our first theory of the tier list, and that is that Quandale works for the CIA. As seen in the video, Quandale is an op, which of course would insinuate that Quandale is a police officer. However, I don't think that that's true. I think that Quandale works for the CIA. I think he's an assassin, or for like the NSA, or I don't know, something like that. But yes, it's very possible that Quandale has been carrying out all this carnage, even on his own family, as a result of employment for a secret government agency. That's just a theory of mine. I don't know if that's true or not. You know, a lot of stuff in the Quandale Dingle universe, universes plural, I guess, has not really been resolved yet, so, you know, who's to say? Moving on to Quandale's partners, we have Shaniqua Anderson, the baby mama. We don't know a whole lot about her, only that she had a son with Quandale, who I've named Son 2 because he was never given a name in any of the Quandale Dingle series, movies, or comics, and that this is the son that was given to the creepy old guy. And then there was also the other son that Quandale Quandale adopted with his boyfriend DeQuavius Bingleton, also known as Tyler J, named Quandale Dingle, who of course is the one that got his hand stuck in an air fryer. Very tragic accident. One of the earliest things to happen in the Quandale Dingle series, but if we had known what was to come, then we probably would have laughed at how we all reacted to this particular incident. Moving up the family tree to some of Quandale's siblings, we have Quandale's sister, who is currently unnamed. I believe that this is actually the only one of Quandale's relatives in the Prime universe, at least, that is not named. We know that she possibly had an incestuous relationship with Quandale, which is a theme that you will find very much reoccurring in this series, and even reoccurring in some of the alternate universes. We know that she was killed in an IED explosion and that she had Tourette's. Other than that, we don't know a whole lot, though. Moving on to Quandale's possibly stepbrother, Quantave Zingleton III. All we know about him is that he got bug sprayed in the eye. That's kind of it. Yeah, moving on. Moving on to Carmen Winstead, and I know that some of you are going to be a little bit upset here. You may think, Sakairos, how could you not have a long list of notes like we have for Quandale with such a prominent character like Carmen Winstead? Well, look, first of all, we have a lot to get through in this tree, and I don't want to take up too much time on a character that, to be honest, we didn't really focus on that much in the Prime Quandale Dingle universe. We know that she got pushed down a sewer drain by Jay Jeffrey. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say that name. I don't want to get nuked on Twitter for this in 5 years. But yeah, we know that she's dead. It's very tragic. It's also something that happened pretty early on in the series, like a lot of things lower on this tier list, so it's not really worth going into that much. Going to the other side of the tier list, I'm gonna skip over Jay Jeffrey here because I have a theory about Jay Jeffrey that you may see. There's a red box surrounding Jay Jeffrey and Jay Jones over on this little separate mini family tree, and there's a reason for that, okay? I have a theory about these two people, or should I say this person. We'll go into that later, but I want to get through the rest of the primary family tree before I do that. Then we have Linguini Dingle, his Italian adopted brother. We don't know a whole lot about him either. And then, of course, Quandale Dingle, who is a very important person in the original family tree that I did. A little bit less so maybe now, but he does tie into one of the greater theories that I have about this universe. We know that he is of Chinese descent and was possibly part of somewhere else in the family before maybe something happened and he was adopted by Quandale's parents. We're not really sure about that. We also know that he assassinated Quandale at the end of one of the greatest points in the Quandale franchise. We all thought he was dead. He assassinated Quandale by lacing his ramen with illegal substances, and you know, that was very sad. But going back to this, we know that Quandale was revived after his death at the hands of Quandale Dingle. What I said in the original family tree about Quandale being the new Quandale and him taking over the franchise, that was not true. That was foolish of me to say. I'm very sorry. Obviously, they were not going to let a figure as mighty and as boisterous as Quandale just die like that. So they brought him back for another season, and it's all good. There's also this bit here. Just ignore that. We'll come back to that later. That's what the kind of like big overarching theory that I want to dive into at the end. But we're like halfway through the primary family tree, so let's just keep going. Moving on up, we have proper names for both of Quandale's parents now. I know that Quandale's mom is named Darlene Dingle, not Crystal Clobber Dingle, as I said in the previous family tree. And we have a little bit more information on her as well. We know that obviously she beat the goofy uncle with a pan. That's nothing new. We do know that she is dead, and I just put dead here. I don't know why I did not elaborate on this. Like I said in the previous video, I tend to work on these family trees pretty late at night, so forgive me for any incompetence. Oh, actually, I'm stupid. It says right here, she was killed by Quandale after he put perks in her Kool-Aid. Once again, it's showing this whole thing that Quandale likes to assassinate his victims with like drugs and stuff. I'm not really sure what that's about, but you have not seen the end of this pattern. I assure you. We also know that she was abusive to Carmen Winstead, which is an interesting detail that was included kind of like midway through the series. I don't remember if this was after Quandale's initial death or not, and then he got like Jon Snowed back to life. I'm not really sure, but we know that that's a thing. I mean, well, obviously it had to be before Carmen's death, so I would assume probably before Quandale got Jon Snowed. Editor Sakairis, remind me to put a Game of Thrones spoiler warning at the beginning of this video, thank you. Anyways, moving on to Quandale's father, Barnacle Billy. We know that he was abusive, that's nothing new, obviously, that's been an integral part of this franchise for a long time. We know that Quandale put fireworks in a sandwich at some point and that he was assassinated by Quandale by a melatonin overdose. Actually, I think all of this information is nothing new, just that we know that his name was Barnacle Billy. That's the only really new thing that we know about Quandale's father. Moving on over, we have the goofy uncle, who of course is a molester, molested Quandale. We all know that. Very tragic. It was a very hard part of the initial seasons of Quandale Dingle experience. It was very hard to watch, but you know, it really characterized the goofy uncle as just pure evil and as a pure monster as he's known today, rightfully so. We know that the goofy uncle held Quandale captive and forced him to watch Crispy Concord videos, and we know that he is the owner of Goofy Uncle Productions, for which he forces Quandale to rap. Yeah, so if you see any of those Quandale rap songs floating around, as fire as they may be, just know that they were made off the back of child labor. Forced child labor. My mistake. We also have a new character here, the goofy uncle's boyfriend, Steve Tarnations. All we know about him is that he peeped on Quandale while he was in the shower. That's kind of it. The goofy auntie, of course, we don't really have any new information about her or her presumable son, Henry Bartholomew Dinglenut, who is a domestic terrorist. And then, of course, the goofy auntie stabbed Henry Arthur Zinky Nuts at Longhorn Steakhouse with a knife. Very strange, you know, chapter in the whole Quandale Dingle franchise, but it is what it is. Moving on to the last two characters in the primary family tree. The crossroads of the Quandale Dingle lore, possibly even more so than Quandale Dingle himself. We have the grandpa, Henry Arthur Zinky Nuts. We know that he was karate chopped by the goofy uncle. We know that he was injected with type 2 diabetes by Quandale, I think in his kneecap if I remember correctly. And we know that he was presumably killed after Quandale pushed him into oncoming traffic for changing the channel to Family Feud, which I personally think is a reasonable reaction. And then I actually made a little bit of a mistake here. I put that he was arrested for robbing a fish and chip shop in the primary timeline. That did not happen in the primary timeline, at least as far as I know. That actually happened in the British AU, so sorry about that. We also have a little bit of lore on the grandmother. Obviously, there was always, you know, a grandmother, like that's just how like sex works. But we know that the grandmother was trapped in the World Trade Center on 9/11. What a weird thing to add to the Quandale Dingle universe. I'm not really sure what relevance that has to the story, but you know what? They added it. It's part of the franchise. It's part of the lore now. It is what it is, as I've said before. There's also two other Quandale siblings that I didn't really have room for because I was kind of like running out of space here. We have Jonathan Cartwheel Fruit Loop III and Jeffrey Arnold Lancer Andre Higgleton V. Neither of these dudes really have anything interesting going on. They're just there. They're kind of background characters. I didn't really feel a need to elaborate on them any further, so, you know, that's that. And then, of course, as I said before, by popular demand, we have Quandale Dingle's friends and other characters that are not related to the family in any way, but I thought I should add just because everyone was asking for them. We have Wandale Pringle, who of course died of heart failure next week as predicted by Quandale, which maybe relates to some of the theories that I have for this later. Who knows, that might come up again. But we know that he was a best friend or potentially a cousin of Quandale. That part has not really been confirmed yet, but I'm just gonna say best friend for now. And then of course Albert Fingernoodle, who I believe is a friend of the Quandale family, someone in here. I'm not really sure about that, but you know, all these people and all these, you know, episodes and seasons and comics and movies and podcasts, it's very hard to keep up with all the Quandale lore. So, you know, I'm going to make a few mistakes here and there. Just forgive me for that. But we know that he killed his grandpa by farting in his breathing machine and that he has committed multiple felonies in a gated community community, that is pretty much all we know about Albert Fingernoodle and all we know about the friend characters. We're gonna move on over to the alternate universes now. These are just kind of, you know, weird little things. I kind of felt like personally they were jumping the shark a little bit by adding not one but two alternate universes. I felt like the hillbilly one was funny, and then the British one just wasn't really, it didn't have much substance to it, but we're gonna go over it anyways because it is technically part of the family tree. Starting off with the Hillbilly AU, because this is the one that has a little bit more substance to it. We have Quandale, Billy, Hunter, Scott, Michael, Arnold, Jacob, Lathrop, Kevin, Stephen, Oscar, Dingle, Senior. Very interesting addition there. I'm not sure what the senior has to do with it. Maybe that implies that he has a son that he also named Quandale. I don't really know, but as in the Prime universe, we have a sister who had a possible incestuous relationship with Quandale. We have the stepfather who beat Quandale after discovering the incestuous relationship. We have the uncle in this universe. There's always got to be a goofy uncle. In this universe, his name is Salamander Weasel, who stole the grandmother character's car, and there is a grandmother character. All we know is that she's dead because Salamander Weasel stole his dead mother's car, I guess. I don't really know. It's a little weird. Like I said, it was jumping the shark a little bit. And then we have Quandale's cousin, who also possibly had an incestuous relationship with Quandale. You know how it is. It's the Hillbilly AU, you know, what are you gonna do? Then we have the British AU, which is just basically British Quandale, who was caught running up on the ops, and then Henry Bartholomew Dinglenuts, who was an acquaintance, and then like I mentioned earlier, we have Henry Arthur Zinkynuts in this universe got arrested for robbing a fish and chip shop. And actually, let me go into my theory about Henry Arthur Zinkynuts right here, because I feel like this is a good time to bring it up. While all the other characters tend to have different names in the AUs, Henry Arthur Zinkynuts goes by the exact same name in both the British AU and the Prime universe, which possibly links the grandpa character to the alternate universes. And also consider the fact that Quandale was able to predict his friend's death of heart failure in Wandale Pringle over here, which means maybe there's possibly a sort of Rick and Morty-like relationship going on between Henry and Quandale, where Henry is some sort of, I don't know, mad scientist or something. He knows about these alternate universes. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's one possible link to the alternate universes. There's another link that might be a little more likely that I'll go over later, but that's kind of the last thing that I want to discuss in this video to kind of wrap it all up. For now, I'm gonna go over to one of the more interesting things that I pieced together from doing research on the Quandale Dingle lore, and that is the Jones family tree. Now, we have two kind of side characters in the Jones family tree that don't really do much. We have Kevin Barnacle Jones and Stephen Edgar Diego Lucy Kraber, Emilio Morgan Cosmo Solomon Phil Joe Aaron Jordan Eugene Arnold Gertrude Tyrone Jones Henry Kevin Daniel Stephen Larry Phillip Logan Chris James Jack Oliver Jackson Aiden Mason Luke Levi Cameron Wyatt David Carter Isaac Jaden Luca Thomas Maverick Josiah Charlie Miles Caleb Griffin Nathan Eli Andrew Cooper Santiago Christian Landon Roman Brooke Wesley Jeremiah Hunter Jordan Jose Connor Dominic Adam Ryder Kingston, Damian, Sawyer, Vincent, Chase, Diego, Milo, Cole, George, Zion, Luis, Jonah, Aiden, Calvin, Jones, who is possibly a member of the Jones family tree, although I'm not really sure. And then, you know, Kevin Barnacle Jones. I can't remember if I already mentioned him or not because I'm like lightheaded now. And then, of course, we have the most interesting character, I think, maybe the most interesting character in this entire family tree, maybe even more interesting than Quandale and Henry, and that is Jay Jones. Now, we only know a few things about Jay Jones, who, of course, once again, I'm not going to say his full name because I don't want to get, like, arrested by the Twitter police. But we know that Jay Jones burned his house down after leaving the stove on, and we know that Jay Jones has an uncle who molested him. Very interesting. Okay, now, bear with me here. There is a person who we know is a relative of Quandale's. We know that he's Quandale's brother named Jay Jeffrey, who killed Carmen Winstead and is a former cop. Now, okay, I'm actually gonna backtrack on what I said earlier about Quandale not being a cop. I have a theory that Jay Jones, Jay Jeffrey, and Quandale Dingle are all the same person. Originally, I had just limited this theory to J. Jones and J. Jeffrey being the same person, since they had the same first name and they both had an abusive uncle. But think about it. Quandale also burned his house down after leaving the stove on, just like J. Jones. Quandale also has an uncle who molested him. And we know that J. Jeffrey is a former cop. You know who else has been claimed to have been a former cop? Quandale does. In the video, Quandale is an op. And you know what? I'm actually going to steal this red background right here and place it over Quandale, just to officially tie this all together. But yes, I think that these three people in this family tree are the same person, and that the Jones family and the Quandale Dingle family are actually related. It's all part of the same family tree. All right, now, with that theory out of the way, let's discuss the main overarching theme of this entire franchise, this entire expanded universe, all right? And that is the great ancestor theory. Now, there is a theory that was presented to me by one of my subscribers. I don't remember your name. I'm very sorry. I'll put the original comment that got me down this rabbit hole right here. There is a theory that several of these people are all related to one great ancestor Dingle who traveled across the world causing absolute carnage, and that actually all of these people are related, even the alternate universes. This would link, I mean, well, obviously the Jones family is already linked, but that would link the Jones family even more, maybe even Wandale Pringle and Albert Fingernoodle. It would link Quandale Dingle / Dingle son, who, you know, we're not really sure what his last name is. It's either Dingle or Dingleson, but despite being adopted, he has the same last name, despite some of the other adopted brothers of Quandale not having the same last name, like, for example, Carmen Winstead and Quantavez Dingleton III. The theory is that this one person, this great ancestor, made Dingle families in the United States, where Quandale Dingle is presumably from, in China, where Quandling is from, in Britain, where British Quandale is from, and possibly also somewhere in the Appalachian region, where Quandilly, Billy, Hunter, Scott, Michael, Arnold, Jacob, Lanthrop, Kevin, Stephen, Oscar Dingle Sr. is from. And that's why here I have that this is an alternate AU connection, because this theory states that the AUs are actually not AUs at all. They're part of the Prime universe. They just take place in different locations. And that, for example, British Quandale, Quandilly, and Quandale all exist within the same universe. They're just all like distant relatives of each other. And with that theory done, I think I've pretty much said everything I need to say. That is the ultimate Quandale Dingle family tree. As I said, I'm not going to do another one of these. This took way too much time to set up and record, but thank you all for watching. Your guys' support on the last 2 or 3 videos in the series, I guess, has been absolutely amazing. I can't say thank you enough. You know, I never expected of all my recent videos that those would be the ones to blow up, but you know, hey, I'm not complaining. Welcome to all my new subscribers. You guys are great. You know, thanks for all the comments and all your suggestions and everything that helped make all of this BS possible. And yeah, just like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And until next time, my name is Sakairis. I will see you all later. Goodbye.